We have a question from a viewer. If you're a felon, what can you do for self-defense? We'll ask criminal defense attorney Tom Grieve, but first, we have a gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now. It's absolutely free, but it does end really soon. So please click the link in the description to find out which brand new gun you could win. Tom, convicted felon, paid their debt to society, can't own firearms, but they still want to defend themselves. What can or what should they do?
Well, first off, if you have indeed been discharged from whatever your sentence was, extended supervision, probation, whatnot, check the local listings in your state, because sometimes there are procedures and mechanisms in place that may allow you to rehabilitate your Second Amendment rights. So that's kind of step one. Know where you are, know what your local listings are as far as the local laws and options that may be available to you. Beyond that, if there are no options, what can you do? Fundamentally, the self-defense laws don't change. What does change are the tools and equipment you have available to you, okay? So you cannot possess firearms if you're a prohibited possessor, which generally speaking are going to be felons, again, subject to local listings, all right? So unless you explicitly know otherwise, you are a prohibited possessor and it will be a felony in order for you to possess firearms. So, but that does not mean you're not allowed to defend yourself. You just have to be mindful of the tools. So generally speaking, if you're facing a deadly threat, you're in reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily harm, that doesn't mean you can't use your fists. It doesn't mean you probably can't use a baseball bat or a knife or something like that. You may not be able to lawfully conceal carry a knife, depending upon your jurisdiction once more, but the fundamental self-defense laws do not change.
And something that occurred to me as we're talking about this is here in the state of Wisconsin, you are not required to fire a gun to get your concealed carry permit, but your concealed carry permit also allows you to carry other weapons like a baton or a sap or something like that. So I guess, could a convicted felon get a concealed carry permit? No.
Generally speaking, every state's going to have admissibility criteria and stating, here's what you need to have. These are the boxes you need to check. You need to be an adult. You need to be, maybe you have to pass this class and so forth. I have not reviewed the licensing criteria for every single state that has licensing criteria. However, every state that I'm familiar with will say that you are ineligible if you are a prohibited possessor. So for instance, in Wisconsin, we have a circular law which basically says you can conceal carry a knife without a concealed carry license, unless you cannot get a concealed carry license. Then you need a concealed carry license to conceal carry, which you won't be able to get. Okay,
that's some catch, that catch-22.
It's a catch, all right.
Yeah, that is an amazing one on that. So I'm a big fan of alternate weapons. Pepper spray comes to mind. And I know that there are very specific rules, regulations, and laws that cover the use of pepper spray. And for felons, as far as you know, any severe prohibition in that area?
Subject to local listings, I'm not familiar with any laws that would prohibit a felon from possessing pepper spray. I would be 0% surprised if there were such laws and regulations somewhere out there. In my experience, felons, you run into obvious issues with firearms and ammunition. You can run into issues with electronic weapons. And then also you run into issues as far as carrying goes. So concealed carry or anything that requires some sort of license that you're likely not going to be able to get. Those tend to be, at a minimum, the hot button issues that felons run into, or just prohibited possessors in general. So maybe someone had a stint when they were 20 as an involuntary mental patient or something like that. So it's not necessarily someone only who was convicted of a felony. You could be a prohibited possessor for a wide range of criteria. Maybe you're an unlawful user of some sort of controlled substance, such as THC, which under federal law, that's the way it stands right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, this is another one that kind of opens a can of worms that we're looking into. So thank you for your insights. Appreciate the help. And folks, if you have more questions like this, let us know. Thanks again, Tom.
Thanks, Kevin.
It's a true story of self-defense. We interviewed an armed Lyft driver who was carjacked to help answer these questions. Should I carry a gun while driving? And what does a carjacking actually look like? Just click the video next to me to watch this must-see interview.